The topic which we are going to discuss, keyword driven framework. This is also depends on the functions concept. So what is that? In this framework, we create a library functions with general script, not generic, general script. And those functions we call based on keywords or business transactions in application. But whenever we are going to work with the library functions, simultaneously we need to work on the external environment variables for reusability of the test data and shared repository file to reuse the test objects. These three concepts. So keyword driven framework, we are going to get this all the three concepts as well as data driven framework concept also are going to get. Why data driven concept are going to get here? Because our keywords where we are going to maintain here, Excel sheet. Those data we have to import according to the keywords we have to call the required functions. That's the reason. So once you concentrated keyword driven framework, almost 75% of QTP concepts are going to be covered here when you go for the keyword driven framework. Okay. Further, I'm taking one example here. Create library functions to perform operations on flight reservation application. Launching application to perform login operation to close application. And I said that call these functions, not directly, call this function based on keywords in external data table somewhere. That's what the keyword driven framework. To get some idea, I given a diagrammatical explanation here. Different resource files we have to work here. One is first resource file. Create external environment variable file based on the functions which are going to create. For those functions, what type of data is required. According to that, you have to create the external environment variable file. So application path. For these scenarios, I need application path, user ID and password values. So resource file 2. Create shared object repository file with a login window and a flight reservation window test objects. Which transactions purpose you want to create the functions and which objects QTP need to perform the operation. With those test objects, you have to create the shared repository file. Then resource file 3. Create external data table with your keywords, open application, login operation, close application. What type of transactions you want to call the functions, those keywords you have to maintain. The business components also are going to call. Three resource files. And I have another resource file here. What is that? Create library functions based on required transactions. What are the functions are required? Application launch is one function. According to this one, open application means to open application one function. Function name I am giving app underscore launch, or you can give ABC also. But meaningful name we have to maintain for functions. Other function app underscore login. Third one app underscore close. Once all this setup is available, then you have to go for the main or driver script. Here we have to create driver script to call the required functions based on keywords in external data table and associate required resource files which you created here. So associate external environment variable file, associate shared object repository file, associate library function file, then import the data keywords based on that call the required functions. Whatever keywords are there here in external data table saying that import it and call that based on that we call the required functions. So how we can do practically this is. Okay. Now what are the transactions I want to go here? To launch application, to perform login operation, to close application. So first, what they said, resource file. Create external environment variable file. So with application path, so user ID and password values. How do you create external environment variable file? Means I will show you again. You see that. So go to the file menu settings, environment, variable type you select as user defined environment variables, click on add, AAP underscore path I'm giving, path of the flight reservation application. This is the path of the flight reservation application. Okay. Another environment variable required, user ID. User ID. Inside queue I'm giving, okay. Password. Remember, environment variables are variable names. Environment variable names are case sensitive. I'm going to, there is an export, I will go for the export. Now what I will do, already I have my working folder here. There is a environment folder is there. In the environment folder, I'm going to say that login data dot XML. So extension dot XML I have to give. Save file. Environment variable, external environment variables we are going to maintain in XML file. Login data dot XML. So it may ask the already file is available. I want to replace it with a new one as it is. Okay. Now again if I go for the new test here, you won't find the environment variables which you defined. Yeah, there is no. Okay. Step 1 what I did, created external environment variable file. What is the path here? C drive 10 a.m. October 16 environment. So login data dot XML. That is the path. Now again go back to my diagram here. Resource file. Create shared object repository file with the login window and flight reservation window. Why? Login window, flight reservation window you may have it. And which objects I need to perform the operation as per these transactions. Corresponding objects shared repository file is required for us. So I want to go for facts. Yes, you can take, but as per this scenario, it is not required. Okay. So shared repository file you have to create with required test objects, not unnecessary objects. How do you create shared repository file? Resources, object repository manager we are going to use. Here, login window test objects are required. I am going to add a login window test objects information first using default object types. Same, flight reservation window also required. Flight reservation window. Add the flight reservation window objects information also. So only flight reservation window is sufficient. I am going to save this one where 10 a.m. October. This is also I have my working folder 10 a.m. October. So repositories is the folder. There I am going to maintain the name as so login.tsr test shared repository. Shared repository file extension is .tsr. External environment variables file extension is external environment variables file extension is what is that XML. Okay. Now what I am doing here, step 2, create shared object repository file with required test objects based on the scenario. The path here I given because The path is important for reusability purpose. So login.tsr. Step 2 is completed. Then what my diagram is saying here. For the third one, resource file. 3. Keywords required. I will go for the Excel sheet here, external data table. Keywords. What are the keywords I want to maintain? Open application, login operation, close application. Okay. Open application, login operation, then close application. Open application, login operation, close application. I'm going to save. In my working folder, C drive, 10 a.m. October 16, test data is the folder where I want to maintain as bc.xls. Business components. So bc.xls I'm giving. Okay. For the third step I did here, step 3, created external data table with business components or keywords. The path here. I think no space. Test data. Okay. What is the name I given here? bc.xls, not xls6. xls. Then so this section is completed. Now anytime, anywhere, when you are going to create the script, first don't concentrate on the script. First you have to concentrate on the required resource first. The outer things are complete, then it is easy to develop. The middle again you are going to that one, that is not correct. First you have to complete the creating all the resource files. Then you have to focus on the main script. Now resource file 4, create library function. This is the big task for us. I want to create the library functions based on the transactions or keywords which I have in the external data table. The first one is, what is that? Open application. I want to create the library functions. For that, I will prefer function library editor than Notepad. Notepad also I can use. But Notepad when I am going to use, I want to get the syntax errors information in the Notepad. But where they given here function library editor, I can get syntax errors information easily while writing the script. Some intelligence we have for that editor. So when we are going to write the script, going to give some intimation for us. So where to go for function library editor? A new function library editor. Like test pane function library editor we are going to get. But remember here, we can't go for the recording here. Recording is not possible to generate the functions in the library functions. You can create recording, you can do by copying the script you can do. But directly you can't go for the recording to generate the script. You have to write manually. That's the reason, even though we have the recording option, why we have to learn VB script to write manually? Functions when are going to work, you are the responsible to write the scripts. Now here I want to create the 3 functions. Now one is to launch application. Second one is to perform login operation. Then to close application. Each function has to read the value if required, and it has to return the status also. That is the way I need to create. So if I go for launching application, it has to take the application path and it has to return the status, opened or not. Login operation, it has to read the user ID, password. It has to say that successful login operation or not. Close application, no data is required. But after close the application, it just say that close the application or not. Like that, such a way, I need to create the library functions. Now, Sima, you know that everything now, just implementation. Function body, first I'm going to function app underscore. So what is the function I want to get name? Launch. App underscore launch I am going to give. Okay, app underscore launch. Some value is required, argument A I am going to take. Then if not dialog of login. That means when login window not available exists in 2 seconds. If login not available, then my function has to open the application, invoke application. So of a, and this function has to say that app underscore launch application opened by QTP. So understand my here. So forget about this body here. Just to see internally what I written. If not dialog login exists, I'm saying the invoke application. And message box, I'm saying the application open. Now what I'm doing, function name I'm associating. Else maybe available. Then same function has to say that launch application already opened. You already opened, it has to say that if this one is not satisfied. This is one function. Second one, again function, or the function name I want to maintain, app underscore login. Okay, app underscore login, b comma c. Two arguments I'm taking. What I want to say here, dialog of login dot activate, dialog of login dot win edit of agent name dot set of b, dialog of login dot win edit of. Sima, when you are going to write, you may miss the colon. When you miss the colon, it won't identify. Logical name not matching means it won't cover the information. Dot set. See. Then dialog of login dot win button of OK dot click. After performing login operation, now it has to check if a window flight reservation dot exist, then maximum 10 seconds exist, then what has to do, window flight reservation dot close. Close next function I will take. Just has to give the status as successful login operation. What is the function name here? aap underscore login is there. I can say that successful login operation. Else app underscore login function has to return unsuccessful login operation. If it is unsuccessful login operation, no need to go for the other test execution. Yes or no? Other transaction script not required to execute. I can say here exit test. It is to stop execution. Not only function, not only loop here. Enter script is going to stop execution. Okay, like that. Now third function I need to create. Again function app underscore close. So window flight reservation dot close. After that, after close, it has to check again flight reservation window available or not. If flight reservation window exists, not exist, it has to say not exist, then function has to return here app underscore close. Say that application closed. Else app underscore close application unable to close, like this. End if is required here. End if. Now I want to check, is there any syntax errors? How do you check? Control F7, saying the syntax is valid. All these functions. Okay. Now three functions I created. Let me save it. Here place control on library to right click on mouse, go to save. So where my working folder is this one here, C drive 10 a.m. October. Functions is the one folder is there. Here I want to go for the name as functions is the folder name I given. So I will give functions only. Functions dot QFL, quick test function library. Now step 4, what I did here, created library functions. Library functions also I created. What is the path for the file? Functions. Again functions I given dot QFL is the extension. See. Worked on external environment variables, worked on shared repository files, worked on the data table, now worked on the library functions. Now all this together we have to call while execution time. For that we have to create the main script. That's what the diagram is saying here. In create driver script to call the required functions based on the keywords in external data table and associate required resource files which you created. First you have to associate the resource files, then we have to import the keywords and you have to call the functions. First I want to associate the library function file. So shared repository file, how we can go for that? Now I want to associate shared object repository file. What is the script for that? Repositories collection dot add path of the shared repository file. Shared repository file path is this one. Let me take this one. Here it is. Then I want to associate a library function file. What is the syntax to associate dynamically execute file we have to use? Execute file, and where the path? This is the path. See it like this. Then associate external environment variable file. How do you associate dynamically? Environment dot load from file. Here, this is the path of the external environment variable file. Login data.xml. Now what I will do here, every time I want to, if you want to read the values from the environment variables, what is the syntax? To read the values from the environment variables, environment dot value of environment variable name I need to give. That one, if I go for the functions, it takes lengthy statement. So for that, what I will do here, read environment variable values into local variables. I want to read. So a underscore path equal to environment dot value. So what is the variable name here? You understand that. C drive 10 a.m. October test data. So environment variables, no? Environment login data if I open. What is the variable name here? App underscore path. Okay. Then I am going to write in the script. So of app underscore path uid equal to again environment dot value of what is the name here, user id, I uppercase I have user id, password, environment dot value password. This is capital letter P, WD lowercase again, case sensitivities. Now I associated all the resource files, but here I have the shared repository file I will get, and I will get the environment variables. But these functions are I need to call it. These functions I need to call. How I can call it? Based on the keywords in my external data table. Now what I need to do after I associated like that, then what I need to do? I need to import the keywords. Okay. Now this is one part. Now it is similar to the data driven framework concept. You see that. So after that, from here onwards, like if I want to import the data, this data into QTP data table, first we are going to create the new sheet or not? New sheet we have to create. So how to create new sheet? Data table dot add sheet. So sheet name I want to give as test log. I want to import the external data table data here. Data table dot import sheet. From where it is there? Where it is there? Keyword sheet. This is the file. Okay. XLS. In sheet 1 I have the values. That into I want to import into the test log sheet. Here I want to import. Once I imported, what will happen? I will get the first row values, first column all the values. Next column I want to provide the status. Status I want to maintain one column is required to create the new column. Now let us see that, try to understand. I will execute this portion. It won't take much time to execute also. But when you are going to run it, make sure the external data table should be closed. Now you run it. Look into your data table at a test result window, runtime data table, how the values are going. Generally, we won't import the data into global action. Preferable is new sheet. I created, I have the values. Now, what I want to do here, I want to get here status. Another status has to give that whatever function is going to return, successful login operation or unsuccessful, application closed or not. This I want to get here. Further column is required. How do you create the new column here? So data table dot get sheet of test log is the sheet name dot add parameter column name. I want to give status here. I want to give my name temporary purpose. Then I want to find how many rows we have the keywords. How we can go for that row count equal to data table dot get sheet of, so that the particular sheet it will going to count number of rows availability, get row count, then give for loop for I equal to 1 to number of rows. In this iterations time I need to specify which row it has to perform the operation. Data table dot set get sheet first dot get sheet of where I'm working test log sheet dot set current row of I. I'm going to like this. Data table dot get sheet of test log dot set current row of I. Then read the value from the data table. One variable keyword equal to data table dot value. What is the column name once it is imported? Keywords. Okay. Column name is uppercase keywords. Where it is there, which sheet it is there, test log sheet. Now what I want to say here, based the keyword I want to call the function, so I will go for the select case of keyword. Now case is open application. The keyword which is going to read, the keyword is open application. Then which function it has to call? We have functions here. Which function it has to call? AAP underscore launch. So there is one argument you have to give or not for this. So I want to call the, so if it is that one, it has to call APP underscore launch. Which value I need to pass? Application path. Where it is there? A underscore path here. I need to set it. A underscore path. Will it return the value or not? This function. Yes or no? This function will return the value or not once it is launched application. Either it going to be application opened by QTP or application already opened. Either way it going to returns. Now that value I want to save it somewhere. Okay. Or I can save that. Further one variable is required to me. Test here. So already column I given status. So I can say like this one. In data table, whatever value going to data table, under status column, in test log sheet you enter whatever value going to return. If case is open application, the keyword is call the function AP underscore launch and return the value into the status column in our test log sheet. Maybe it is not. Data table dot value. Data table dot value. Okay. Case. What is the other keyword here? Login operation. A login operation. Then again, which function I need to call? So AAP underscore login. So I need to go for again. I need to call it AAP underscore login. Which value it has to pass here this time? User ID pass. What are the values? UID password. UID password. So same location has to save the values or not? I need to go. Again. Case. Other keyword here. Close application. Close application. Now maintain what exactly string you written, same string here. Okay, case sensitivities. Now which function has to call now? AAP underscore close. Is that function name? AAP underscore close. Okay. Maybe sometimes you may have the other than these keywords also. Case else. What I want to say, invalid key present. Invalid key present. Okay, like this. So after this, I want to export this one data table dot export sheet where C drive. So 10 a.m. October 16. I may have one folder there tested result. I hope not there or available. Tester result is the folder is there. Here already one file is there. What is that? Login result. Now, so what I want to say, keyword framework result dot xls. Then which sheet do you want to export? We have to specify. Which sheet here? Test log. This is the concept. How it is. Application should not exist. Close it. The whole script here. Library functions editor, you can close it. Not required means just run it. There is a logic behind the keyword driven framework, the concept how it is going to work. Completed. So result C drive 10 a.m. October tester result if I go login result dot xls keyword driven framework dot xls go to that application by QTP successful login operation application closed. Like this, number of transactions you may have application, number of functions you have to create and are going to use. Maybe I got the modified version. All the scenarios are not required. Okay. You can take required keywords into the another Excel sheet, you can pass it. According to required functions, going to validate. So the build is stable or not, we can easily understand it. Okay. So this way it is. This is about the frameworks concepts QTP. Hybrid framework is nothing but like this combination of the remaining. So they get keyword driven framework, some functions are going to use not in one script, the meaning here hybrid framework meaning. So we are going to work the with functions with the data driven framework as well as actions concepts combination we are going to use. That is nothing we are going to call hybrid framework we are going to call. They may ask the question sometimes, what are the components in your framework? So these are the components in our framework. See the 10 a.m. October, whatever is there, these are the components. What is this? Environment variables are there, functions are there, recovery scenarios are there, so repositories are there, test data is there, XLS files are there, result is there, tests are there. These are the components in our framework. So when you said like this, interview going to understood that you worked on these all the concepts. So you should have the knowledge on this concept. According to that, he is going to ask the questions to you. Okay. That is about the QTP concepts. So